Podcast. My name is... Get out of here. Welcome back to the Packierunpodcast. My name is AJ Lagambina. It is a solo show. I am in control. I am here. I'm ready to drop the hottest of takes. I'm out here. Your other co-host, Dan the Man Mayotte, is out here working incredibly hard, trying to keep himself and his family and his friends. He's just doing work to keep everybody afloat. Sometimes you get solo episodes. Dan got 2, and now I get the distinction of maintaining episode number 80. I am here in wonderful Virginia with a TV screen going and a recording software rocking in front of me. If I sound a little bit weird, I'm using a microphone that I don't usually use. The fun part about using this one is that I think that it is a vocal capable microphone, but it is specifically designed for guitar cabinets, and I've used it a couple of times on a couple of different projects, and I really like it. So we'll see how my vocals turn out when I'm using it basically in front of me, very ribbon microphone looking, for those of you that are nerdy enough to know what the fuck that means. Regardless, we are here. We are 8 weeks in to the NFL football season. And honestly, I don't know where to start. I guess I'll go with what I know. It is fantasy football season. It has been fantasy football season. And it is a magical time for anybody that has money riding on the idea of fantasy football. Those of you that are winning are starting to feel better and better and better about yourselves. Those of you that are losing, like myself, are either contemplating how to get yourselves going in the back half of your season, or you're laughing at playing the spoiler. I am unfortunately the latter. I'm just loving playing the spoiler. And as anyone who has listened to the podcast before knows, I have a very dear friend. He lives very close by me. He is equal parts influential and... I don't know what the right word is. We'll just say influential. He's an influential man in my life. But because of that influence, it makes me really happy. Really, really happy when I get the opportunity to clown on him, which I do get to do right now. I haven't talked about it a lot on the podcast. Dan and I have laughed about it a couple of times back and forth. Sometimes there's been a couple of tears on my part. But I, up until this week, was 0-7. I have not won a fantasy football game in 7 straight fucking weeks. And I think if you ask Dan, or even a couple of other people who I have talked to, the thought was that I had a very young team. I had a very inexperienced team. Nobody was looking at my team at the end of our draft and saying, hey, you're dangerous. But I also don't think that anybody was looking at my team and going, you're gonna be the doormat of your league. And it turns out that I was. And that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it? So 0-7 up until the man Pat Maher comes across my desk. I did not change out my quarterback this week. My starting quarterback was Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders quarterback who did not play and therefore could not get me any points in a fantasy football league. That was my starter because I wasn't really paying attention because 7-0 is a bad place to be. I also started A.J. Brown, a wide receiver out of Philadelphia who, despite his many talents and his ability to break out during any game, has not done really jack shit this entire season. Started him. He was also designated as out. For those paying attention at home, that's pretty important. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, I again say those are 2 positions you don't want to be short on. You need points out of these players in order to compete with the rest of whatever league you happen to be in. And I did not have the 2 most important players. And yet somehow I won. I managed to pull out a win in my fantasy football league, which we pretty much knew was going to be a thing last night, Monday the 27th. That's just impressive. It's a fluke. It doesn't say anything about my ability to draft a team. It doesn't say anything about Pat's team, outside of the fact that all of his players just underperformed, and that's a pretty bad look. But I'm having fun over here knowing that I had basically given up on my team at 7-0, and look at that. I didn't even need two of the most important pieces of my team to turn around and pull off a win. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So that's your fantasy football corner. As far as regular football is concerned, I'm sure that my counterpart on this podcast would agree when I say, we're back. We're motherfucking back, guys. The Patriots are... You can say what you want about the schedule, about the lack of depth that shows itself at some points, especially when it comes to our defense. I don't feel like we're pushing it. I don't feel like we're overcompensating. I don't think like Patriots Nation has been waiting for who's the successor to Brady. And we've had some fun moments. We had a really fun season. I mean, you're going to deal with stadiums being shut down. You're going to deal with the debacle of COVID. And who do we get as the immediate replacement to the greatest quarterback of all time? We get Cam Newton. And for half a season, he looks like he's on a little bit of a revenge tour. And then he gets COVID. He's out for a couple of weeks. He comes back. He's got complaints about brain fog and all this other stuff. Okay, fine. But even leading into the end of that season, Cam was fun to watch. That was just entertainment value was at almost an all-time high. Even when we were losing, we were in a game, we were trying to make something happen. We had spent 20 years basically of watching Tom Brady being surgical on offense with Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. And now we were watching Josh McDaniels deal with a mobile quarterback that wasn't used to our scheme. He dealt with that. We ended up with the loss of Julian Edelman. It was a roller coaster of a season, and it was fun. And we followed up that season with the beginning of Mac Jones. We go and we draft this kid in the first round, something that we hadn't done in years. He looks like a proto Tom Brady. No one is writing home about his arm talent or his physical abilities, but he looks like a system quarterback. On paper, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Let's get this kid in the door. Let's do it. And maybe through scheme, maybe through some just pure dumb luck, maybe because Belichick deserves a little more credit than anybody's willing to give him now that he's all the way down in Carolina. We're 2 years removed from Brady, and we're back in the NFL playoffs as a wild card team playing against Buffalo, who a week before or 2 weeks before, we had essentially shut out because of our knowledge of weather in the Northeast. It was a fun time to be watching. And then for 2 seasons after that, we have quarterback controversies, and Mac Jones doesn't look quite right, and he's not playing with Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator, so the game became less cerebral, and Jones didn't have the ability to play based on talent alone. So that falls apart. Now we get to Drake May. And the kid has kind of a bum season last season. We don't have we're trying something different, right? We get Gerard Mayo to come in the door as the Patriots head coach, but we still kind of have a cast of characters around Mayo to try and round out a coaching staff, and it just doesn't work. Whether or not he was handpicked by the owner, he just wasn't ready, and it was pretty clear from the jump. So we play a 4 and whatever season. Gerard Mayo's gone. I think everybody, myself included, was real worried that we're now on our second rookie quarterback, and we're not putting, never mind weapons, we're not putting teams around these guys that are going to be able to, we're not putting teams around them that are going to be able to yield results. We haven't done leading into this season, we were 3 years into this post Tom Brady and post Bill Belichick experiment. We haven't done anything to earn any kind of change. It's been throwing the pasta at the wall and hoping that it sticks. And it turns out that this season we've figured out what sticks. Mike Vrabel has come out and has been a hands-on. I'm trying to think of a way to say it that, especially the guys in the national media talk about him. Oh, he's a player's coach, and you can see him because he's wearing the pads, and he's out there running down the sideline with his running back, trying to beat him to the end zone. That's not why he's a player's coach. He's a player's coach because of, as much as people, especially in the football world, and especially during drafts, right? Everybody loves to talk about intangibles. That's a word that's usually ascribed to players. I think Mike Vrabel is a successful coach and was a successful coach before he got canned in Tennessee, which I think they're going to very, very much regret in the next couple of years if they don't already. Vrabel's a good coach because of intangibles. Because everybody talks about him with the same kind of reverence, with the same kind of, we're talking about, Patriots fans know what I mean when I say we don't have time for celebrities. We've gotten rid of some of our greatest players because they got, as my mother would say, they got a little too big for their britches. They started talking in the media. They started getting a little bit ahead of themselves, and there was nothing that a Bill Belichick-led Patriots team loved more than going, yeah, you think you're that much better? You think that you deserve to talk about your paycheck in the media? You think X, Y, or Z? Okay, bet. And then you would watch those players go. 5 years ago, knowing what I just said, 5 years ago, if you had looked me in the eyes and said, your number one receiver for your New England Patriots is going to be Stephon Diggs, I would have asked what kind of fucking prove-it contract he was on, and I would have laughed because you wouldn't have thought of that guy as a team guy. You would have thought, he would have been not a symptom, a victim maybe, of the Belichick way. Turns out the guy is he's a big locker room guy. He's a leader. He is making inroads, and you can see it with some of the some of the team videos, the pre-game speeches that he's doing. He is bought into the culture of this team, and he is successful in being part of the prove-it side of a Patriots team that doesn't want to be subscribed to the word rebuilding. We are this is not a team that they don't want to settle for, hey, we are, you have to deal with us a little bit. You have to give us some space or give us some grace because we are trying to do this, that, or the other. No, that was the last years of the Belichick-led Patriots. The last years of Belichick's tenure was you just got to believe, right? It was I would argue 2 years of, hey, you just have to believe that this guy and his pedigree and his ability to do what he did, he was getting by on clout. That's the simplest way to put it. Belichick was getting by on clout for multiple years. And believe me, I've got plenty of criticisms. I've got plenty of mistrust with the Kraft family and the way that they have handled the Patriots, especially in the last probably quarter of what we know as the dynasty years and the end of Belichick's tenure and choosing Gerard Mayo to be the successor based on basically nothing. I can see what's going on with my own eyes, is basically what I'm saying. But maybe, and it's a big maybe, because who am I to profess to know anybody's thoughts, especially when we're dealing with $1 million franchises and logistics. That I'm pretty good at logistics. For anybody that doesn't know about my history or what I do at the Chalk Factory or whatever, I know my way around the block. When it comes to an organization in the National Football League, Okay, I might have met my match. But doesn't it seem like it's working? And I mean that more philosophically than does it pass the spell test, because we're 5-6-5. We're 5 wins deep, and we have a quarterback who is statistically, if not the best quarterback in football, damn close to the best quarterback in the National Football League. So the Patriots are undoubtedly on the come up, and this isn't me sitting back and just glazing my hometown team. I'm just thinking that maybe, do you think that maybe we're actually, I don't know, you guys tell me. You've got emails, you've got my phone number and Dan's phone number and everything else. I'm at this point in the season, I guess I'm struggling so much because I don't want to just be like the homer guy. I don't want to be Drake May is the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though, goddamn, watching him work is incredible. But like, I'm raised in a way that I think that if it's too good to be true, then if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. But also, hey, we're 7-8 weeks into the NFL season, and for the first time in a while, there's no question. There's no, well, what about this? Or what if, this was a fluke? Or if the calls had gone the other way, you could go down the if and but whatever, shit creek all you want to. This Patriots team is a wagon, and it's a really fucking good wagon. And Stephon Diggs is, at least when the cameras are rolling, he's a leader. He's leading this team. Drake May is saying all the right things and coming into his own as a leader of his own. Not a single fucking person in the entire contiguous United States of America was sitting back and thinking that Mike Vrabel wasn't going to be a player's coach and like make an impression on this team immediately. And his media availability is a delight. This shit's just good. And after the past couple of years, you wait for the other shoe to drop, but this shit is just good. I for one am happy. I'm happy with where we're at. This win over the Browns was all the sweeter because of Andrew and his Audi. We'll leave that for another day. Got to hang out with my cousin, got to see some of our, I think at this point we can just call them mutual friends because that's what they are. I had a grand old time. So that's how football went this week. In case you're wondering why, although if you've listened this far into the podcast, you probably understand that it was scheduling conflicts. But hey, the reason why we don't have Dan is scheduling conflicts. But we're still committed to this. I'll give you guys a little bit of how the sausage is made. The Packierun has moved hosts. If you've paid attention to us on social media, you might know this. If you don't understand why this is significant, then I guess let me tell you. Spotify has an app. It has an infrastructure for podcasting. It was purchased from another company. So Dan and I used to host the Packierun on a company called Anchor.fm. And Anchor gave us free. Anchor's big thing was basically a user interface, right? So I could produce an episode of the Packierun podcast, bounce that file, get us all mixed and sounding good for you and whatever, and export that file as an MP3 and upload it to Anchor. And Anchor would take care of the RSS feeds, the thing that pushes our podcast into your player, whether it's Apple or Spotify or I'm a big fan, and I continue to push it on Packierun socials. I love an app called Overcast, which I would love to be sponsored by, but we're basically sponsored by anyway because that's how I listen to it, at least. When I go back and I do quality control listens, I listen on Overcast. So the Packierun is brought to you by Overcast.fm. Look up Overcast Podcasts. It's an orange icon on whatever your preferred app store is. It saved me months. It saved me months worth of dead space, where it's got a little ability to cut out silence and the EQ that it uses to boost voices and everything else. Overcast.fm. Go listen on Overcast. Anyway, we have moved to a new hosting platform, who will rename will remain mostly nameless until I figure out what it looks like for some opportunities that maybe your two favorite podcast hosts might be able to make some money. But also for the time being, we will be spending money to host the podcast. So if you know us and you like what we do, message us privately. And if you feel so inclined to offset the cost of hosting and whatever else, great. Neither of us are really asking for it. We think that the product stands on its own and that we're going to be able to turn this around and monetize it a little bit. What that means for you guys as listeners is that the feed has remained the same now that we have fully transitioned. If you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, you know that already because it probably automatically uploaded. The second thing is for those of you that listen on other platforms but prefer something like YouTube, because I know a lot of you have YouTube TV and things like that. We are now available. Search for the Packy Run. I'm sure you'll recognize our artwork, things like that. If Dan and or I feel so inclined to start doing something a little bit more fun or creative with video episodes or, I don't know, something more visual, keep an eye on that space. Follow us. It's Packierunpodcast. Again, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. That's the newest part of, I'm sure you know where to find us, basically. Give me just a moment. Do you hear that chorusing? Because this isn't supposed to happen. That's why I said no output.
About socks.
Dan, tell me about socks, bro.
Dude, they keep your feet warm. I always wear black socks because they're pretty sick. I don't like the white socks. They always get dirty. But socks, man, they're awesome.
How passionate are you?
Anyway, I believe... Okay, the recording seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. Sorry about that. The other new thing is I am officially working on an actual modern day laptop. I'm sure that if you're an audio kind of guy, or if you followed the trajectory of how the Packy Run has sounded since we started, I'm sure that you could tell that this past I think it was just the last episode sounded infinitely better than our past 10. I'm dealing with modern technology again and ready to play along and figure out getting you guys a good product. It's why we're here. It's what we do. So there's probably going to be a decent amount of changes coming up as far as. So anyway, I'm sure that whatever I was saying was very profound and going to satisfy you guys that are waiting for me and Dan to hop back on mics and be able to do something. However, I was bragging about my new computer, and now apparently we just do tempo changes, even though I didn't touch fucking anything on the computer screen, because this is the hell that we live in with modern technology. It's just how we do it. So anyway, here's your episode of the Packierunpodcast. We will be back soon. Packierunpodcast@gmail.com, at Packierun on whatever socials you get. If I start to sound like a fucking chipmunk, it's because my computer is playing pranks on me, and fuck me, I guess. As long as I still sound like a normal fucking human being. Hopefully what you're going to hear to close this out is a track, probably my favorite track, from one of my favorite artists, formerly of the band Therefore I Am, and the band Ghost Thrower, the manufacturer, one of the manufacturers from Throne Watches, just all around good dude, Travis Alexander. He's an inspiration. I love his work. I'm hoping that this comes out the way that I want it to come out. I got to do a little bit of editing before I go to bed and get back to my work at the Chalk Factory, and Dan and I will get back to you soon. But yeah, go listen to Travis Alexander. Go listen to Therefore I Am. Go listen to Ghost Thrower. Go listen to all the things, anything that's been mentioned, and fucking let's go Patriots, even though Travis is a Rams fan for reasons that escape reason, I guess. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We will be back sooner rather than later. This has been your solo episode, I guess. Have a good week. Have a good however many days. We'll get back at you. We love you. We'll talk to you later.
look sober, then you push me down. I fell back and over, you were safe and sound. I'm tripping over nothing anyhow. I'm dead asleep. I found you in the forest, don't you lie to me. You're bullshitting like a tourist, you anomaly. Oh, how did you survive without me?